So let me level with you here. So I have Sebastian from, where in Germany are you?
Hagen. This is next to Dortmund.
I have no idea where that is. Somewhere in Germany.
In the middle of Germany.
In the middle.
Us Americans, we only know American
Germany.
geography. I barely know where Germany is. And then Demo, who is originally from Germany,
Yes.
right, who lives in Miami.
Yep.
And so how we got together here is Demo sent me an email, and I'm not gonna lie, I saw the title, and I deleted it immediately, right? So I just deleted it. And while I was deleting it, I was, skim reading, and I read the last line, and it said something to the effect of, "We're not like all those other brands that you are always railing against," or something like that.
Correct.
And so I undeleted. I just went up, said undo, got it back in, and then I don't even know if I read the whole thing. And I sent it to Tommy, and I said, "Tommy, deal with this guy. I think this might be something. I don't know." And so then you came here into this garage, and you handed me the machine, and I was like, "Oh, it's kind of cool." And you told me the story. You said, "Look, man, I know you. I understand your. And I'm going to challenge you guys on this a little bit here in this podcast. I know you rail against IP theft and the Americans. I just have a really hard time with Americans. Like, there's this mentality that if we're like in traffic, I'm gonna get mine. So I'm gonna get my spot. If I don't get my spot, then somebody else is gonna get over on me. And so Americans are like, well, I'm gonna spend my money in the way that I want, and I'm gonna let the Chinese theft artists come and steal from whatever industry I'm in. And so detailers, this is what we do, this is what we love, and yet we're buying products from companies that are stealing from the companies that are supporting us. It just doesn't seem right to me.
Absolutely.
So I feel like I have a darn obligation to, and when you're a young man, you usually don't recognize this. Young men oftentimes haven't quite figured out what their ethical line is or what their moral compass is. And so I feel responsible to make sure that we're not just, in the US we have this expression, cutting off our nose to spite our face. Right? So I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. That's why I deleted the email. That's why I was still like this when you came in. Yeah. Right? That's why so after I held the machine, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. And you told me the price point, which was half of all the other polishers that are on the market. So, and you told me about how well it was doing in Germany and Europe. And so then I said, well, here's what I need, Demo. In order to believe you, I like you. You're cool. We just met. But I think you seem like you're honest. I need you to get the frickin' owner of the company on a call with me. And then when I got you on the call, I said, I need you to, right now, take your camera, take your cell phone, apparently not an Apple device, but take your Android device, and I need you to just do a vlog. I need to see, I don't want you cleaning up, I don't want you organizing.
It wasn't at all?
I want to see the truth. I want to see who you are. Now, I got more than I bargained for. I think they have like at least 2 3D printers in every single room with freaking chaos everywhere. And so pure like mad scientist type of place, right? And you're showing me how you Velcroed this pad to make sure that the bottles, because you do have chemicals and stuff, products, where it helps the bottle spin better so that the label can go on. And so I wanted to see the real. I wanted to see real life. And then what happened, I'm kind of on board. I like this idea of I can help Demo distribute it here in the U.S. I love this idea. I think it's the best polisher in the, based on my limited use of the sort of $200 that entry-level experience. And then my opinion completely changed. And I was actually kind of dreading your coming here because I wasn't really bought in. I'm being honest with you here. I wasn't 100% bought in, but I was I'm like, this could be kind of cool. And then when I polished that E30 M3, I forced myself. I got the machine out. Tommy got the machine out because I wasn't even getting it out. And he said, just use this. And so I used it in the video last week. And that weekend I came in off camera, and I think I polished the whole car with that machine, not out of like forcing myself, but out of choice. Like I just went to that. And that's when I know that it's a great product. And that's when I know that I want to stand behind, I want to represent it. So that brings you up to speed on where we're at here today. And so, Obsessed Garage as a brand is going to, now I can't just represent the whole line. Is that, no offense, I'm not going to like everything you got. That's me.
Yeah.
That's what I think you guys appreciate, right?
Absolutely.
But I do want to carry some of the stuff, right? I want to be able to carry the best, what I think is the best. And then I want to be able to bust your chops and say, if it's not good, this is why. It's not good enough. And I want to challenge you to go make it good enough so that I will take it in the Obsessed Garage store. But what we've talked about together was to help you guys distribute, because we do pack and ship. And so we'll be eventually building just a direct. You go to le.com and it'll know that you're in the U.S. And then Demo's going to have inventory of all the products as well in the U.S. And so I think that the future is bright for the potential of you bringing a very successful European product over here. Right. A lot of different things, a lot of unique things. Some things I'm going to like, some things I'm not. Some things are going to make it to my store. Maybe I don't dislike it, but maybe I don't like it more than something. And so I need to be able to maintain. And so I had that conversation with him. I said, look, I'm in for this, but I need to be able to do me. And he had that same face on. And said, Matt, you do you. That's what we want you to do. So tell us the story. So give me like the 10-minute version of how this happened for you. Like, how are you now in this realm? How are you now making polishers and detailing chemicals and microfiber towels? How does that happen?
The start of the story was in 2003. So where we used to resell Meguiar stuff in Germany.
Okay.
It is in Germany, everything from the US is quite expensive. I think it's vice versa, the other way around. But we came to a certain point, you maybe recognized too on the Krenzler polishers recently, that we had a delivery shortage. Yep. So Meguiar's Germany, they had a distribution in Cologne, they weren't able to supply us the goods we sell on such a frequent basis because we were really quickly into this car tuning scene. I'm not a tuning guy at all, I just like to modify things. So whether it's computers, cars, building 3D printers, everything which is technical, I love. But I quickly get surrounded by employees and a community which relies on this. In Germany, we call it tuning scene. It's just a tuning scene. It's guys who drive cars like this, some low price, some high price. So at all, we messed this up that we can't even supply our community. And this was bothering me quite hard because this is the worst thing what could happen to me, to not be able to supply to the community the products I recommend.
So you had the supply, you had the demand, but no supply.
Absolutely. Right? Worst situation you can ever get.
I know that very well.
Yeah, worst situation. Yeah. So I was like, okay, how can I solve this? So I reached out to Meguiar's US and we're like, yeah, okay, we buy for $150,000 to $250,000 each month your product here in Germany. Can I buy from you directly? And they were refusing, like, no, it's impossible, you have to stick to the distributor. I was like, yeah, arguing with him. And the distributor was like, yeah, I can't solve this for you. And as a technical, scientific thinking person, I was always pursuing solutions. So the solution was, okay, I studied physics once in the region of light and laser techniques, and I love to learn, I learn fast, and I always listening to experienced people. So I learned chemistry on a very unusual way too. And then I hired some more staff in this region to sum this up. And at the end, we developed the chemicals ourselves. We built our site, our factory on ourselves. All the machines we got, the filling, the mixing equipment is all built by our own. Some of the items are imported because usual magnetic pump, you have to reinvent the wheel. And these summed up tend to this array of product sections we actually got, because we didn't focus on this one product. For example, there are companies out there who are just focusing on ceramic coatings, focusing on a glass cleaner, but we are not a marketing company. I don't need to sell you the next level shit glass cleaner. We're just about a good price performance value.
So you started with chemicals, right?
The start was chemicals.
Because of the supply issue with you were buying Meguiar's, you had the customers, you have the whole tuner scene, they're all wanting it.
Yeah.
And so then you're making a detailing chemical line to supply them because of the problems.
Yeah, with two major aspects.
Did the distributor have a hard time, like they didn't have the funds to buy buy the product or buy enough product for you? Was that one of the major issues?
One of the major issues. years,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we were a small company. Every raw material company was refusing to sell to us, and this was a
gosh,
really heavy struggle to build this all up. And I was telling Tommy as we arrived here, the usual thing, we used to have 2 employees who worked at a large company. They make 500,000 bottles each day. And they were like, yeah, let's go to Kronos, spend 5 million euros and buy a bottling machine. And I was like, whoa, we don't have the money. We have to build it on our own. And this is what you saw in the video. It's a completely DIY solution mixed up from some different components.
Yeah.
Most of them are electric, own wired 3D printed
But each
things.
one of those was something you were super interested in at the time, or tinkering with
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
pump, and then probably trying to figure out how to make sure the pump would stop pumping whenever
Absolutely.
it filled the bottle. And
Can it fill this kind of chemicals?
Right.
Is it corrosive resistant? Can it fill alcohols? Will it explode?
Right.
Is it ATIX resistant? All these questions you have to ask on one single component.
Yeah.
And then there comes the next. You attach the conveyors together, and there comes this super dumb, basic universal motor Velcro polishing pad. It looks like a polisher the other way around, which transfers the bottles from one conveyor over a certain gap to the other.
Yeah.
So a quite simple solution, but you can't buy this.
But that's your passion, right?
Absolutely. I love this.
So it's like eating ice cream for you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
See, to me, eating ice cream is walking around with like a 300-page catalog, of like all those tools over there. That's like my dream, right? I love doing that more than anything. So that's your eating ice cream.
Absolutely.
Thing, right? So you do the chemicals, and then the towel. What comes next?
The next stage was there were no microfiber towels available in Europe. The first company we recognized were CarPro. CarPro came with, I think, 2 items in 2005 to 2006. And then we were like, okay, we need to produce microfiber towels. In first instance, again, we went to a Chinese wholesaler. He gave us the opportunity to buy from them at a really nice, decent price. And then we were like, always complaining about quality, because we resold these to very large, different customers. And we once, this is something I won't forget, we once opened a container and the towels were all half the size, because we had a slight conversation issue on the metric and the imperial system mixed up. So centimeters is inch and vice versa. And then things are getting really serious when you're speaking to someone else also for his foreign language, and we couldn't drive this to a good end. And also the color was purple instead of blue. So when you contact the Chinese wholesaler, no offense to the Chinese people at all, but the Chinese wholesaler was, purple is also a nice color, my friend. And I was like, stop. We are in Germany, not in China. You can do this maybe in Japan, in China, something like, not in Germany. In Germany, when it's half a centimeter out of specs, this product is screwed up.
They got their vernier caliper out.
They do. So this product is screwed up. And he was like, oh, no worries, buddy. Next time, 10% discount. And I was like, you're kidding me. I have a whole container, $150,000 container standing here, and I can use it and my customer wants it tomorrow.
Oh, geez,
so we did not find a solution. The solution was we established different Chinese companies. Nowadays we have 3, 2 buy invest or 50% shares. 1 we built completely on our own. The towel factory was completely built from scratch. It was used to be an old chicken farm. We rebuilt this whole site with some of the locals, invested in machines. We bought machines from Germany, sewing machines, ultrasonic cutters, things like this, shipped them over, because over there it's hard to get ultrasonic cutters. You mostly get laser cutters, but these temperature cutted edges are always getting scratchy. So we had many improvements done on a very basic way. It wasn't cheap, wasn't that much, but we were able to completely control the quality. And we enriched the people with something like health insurance, good European-like wages, and they were happy to work for us.
So let me explain. So Sebastian explained this to me. I thought was fascinating. So you can invest in a Chinese company, but there's no recourse, right? So you can develop a relationship with, in this case, somebody wasn't in manufacturing yet, or they didn't have the facility to manufacture, but they had the labor, right?
Yeah.
They had the connections of the people around to hire. And so you go in and you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and give them the money to get the warehouse and to hire the people. And you split it 50-50 shares, right?
Exactly.
But you don't have it's not like a stock certificate in the United States where there's like legally binding.
Try to judge someone in China.
Right. So how are you going to go get that? So there's a lot of trust involved, you'd said. There's trust on both sides. And so what ends up happening is, because you're investing in them, they're very loyal. They now are going to go to the end of the earth for you. And then what you'd also mentioned, which I thought was really brilliant, is that you go in and say, look, I want to pay 25% more than anybody else is paying in wages.
Yeah.
And I want to provide health insurance. I want all these people to be taken better care of than any other place they could be. And then that improves your odds of them, sharing your trade secrets to the next person.
And it boosts the quality, because China is not very well known for its quality management systems. And now we have a small company with just a few employees, and you have to ensure the quality like it is from Foxconn. This is the manufacturer of Apple. So this was the challenge, and it was really hard to come to this point, but it worked like this. So most of the European approaches they got is like, what's the latest price, buddy? And all the Chinese guys try to push the price down, save in materials, save in labor cost, hire the Vietnamese rental guys who work for them. But this is not the intention we wanted to do business. We wanted to build up long-lasting relations, and this is what I always tell people. The price is not a problem. It's not about the money. It is just about the time and the relation you build up. So this is the main focus we had on all these business tasks. The chemicals we do 100% in Germany. The polishes and the microfiber towels we do in China.
So why not just do everything in Germany then?
We are actually planning this. So, for instance, this is something which is in my head since 4 years now. We have tried to establish the manufacturing capabilities in Germany. For the towels, it's really it's crazy, but for the towels, it's far more complex than for the polishes, because in Germany we don't have the technology to manufacture the yarn. You would need. This is quite hard for us because the raw material is not existing. This is far harder than building an electric power tool. So the towels will still be made in China, but we are figuring out how to make it happen, to make a polisher completely made in Germany. This will be, I think, even a bit more expensive, but we also want to put some more intelligence in this product, some more inventions, and this is also one of the reasons.
Did you go to China initially because you didn't have the resources? Like, there aren't the people that can make the darn thing in Germany?
Absolutely. It was not due to the price, because I could get it cheaper in China. It was exactly this thing. I needed to hire tons of engineers, and the Chinese guys are far more open than the German guys, for example. When you go to a German engineering contract manufacturing company, they're like, oh, we need to make such a bunch of paperwork to initially start a conversation. And in China, it seems that most of the people are willing to help you with your problems when you solve theirs.
So how are you speaking to? Do you speak Chinese?
No, not yet.
You have a translator?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I had at two companies, I have a translator. I have a general manager in the microfiber factory, which is also very well into English. And we have a translator who is now since 8 years working and living in the Chinese polisher factory. And this is quite important because most of the Chinese people don't speak European languages or even English. This is.
Yeah. So when do polishers start? How does that start? So you did the chemicals, towels, now you have some revenue that you can use to invest into, because machines I'm sure are a lot more expensive.
A lot more.
And molds and 3D printers and all the different parts and pieces. Getting probably a new investment in another company in China. How does that work?
I'm always like, take the full investment you got and put it into something new. And this is why we always head on to new opportunities. So in the chemicals, we made real good deals on this good price valued products for the tuning guys. And we took this money after 2 years and put it into the first batch from a wholesaler, from a Chinese wholesaler. So most of the people know the DAS6 polisher series. It's very famous in the UK. I also guess Dodo Juice bought it once. Many brands have these kind of polishers.
It's like an 8mm orbit, traditional, like Porter cable.
Like Porter cable, exactly. This Porter cable, I guess, copy, I don't know, which you can get from a Chinese wholesaler. And this was the basic start. And after 6 months, we also get the problems that we can't develop this further, because the engineers over there at the wholesaler, they refuse to implement our improvements. I always have some improvements in my mind. I tend to listen to people, especially like you, who are criticizing a product
Yeah.
in a certain way, but when I know they have some knowledge, I respect this and try to implement this knowledge into a new iteration of the product.
It's an opportunity.
And this,
right?
yeah, every time an opportunity. And this wasn't possible at a wholesaler. So I was like, okay, how can we manufacture polishes on our own? In Germany, it's not possible because too expensive, too much paperwork. And this is where we started the first own polisher company. So I was looking for a local to start this company with. We hired 3 people, which were formerly 2 of them working at Makita and 1 at a Flex manufacturing plant. So they had some basic experience in how to assemble polishes and how this is a semi-automated process, how the machines are working. We developed this further, and in the end, we landed on something like you develop something like a working cycle. You notice from you guys here, you have something like a working cycle. So, for example, when we make the polishes, now everyone knows we want to make every iteration to its best and then push out a new product version. And then 2 years later, push out a new product version. So we don't rely on a single product for 10 to 15 years.
Yep.
We always try to improve, like the car industry does with something like a facelift or a new engine.
Sure, yeah.
Things like this. So this was very beneficial for us because now I have the tools, also speaking for employees, workforce, and possibilities, to implement my ideas into a final product. And this was the main thing about. And just give you a basic idea, most of the people who are in this manufacturing industry know creating a single mold can easily be from $5,000 for a small single stage injection mold to something like $30,000, $50,000 for one mold. And for such a machine you need usually 5 to 9 molds depending on how many
For all
parts.
the pieces, yeah.
For all
yeah.
the pieces. So the investment was approx $500,000 for the first own made machine, and everyone around me in this time, it was, I think the first own machine we did in 2008. Everyone around me was like, oh, this won't work, because we established a new company building, which was 250,000 euros in investment, and $500,000 of this. And I go to the bank because I had no money for this project. Or I go to the bank and I was explaining the idea to the bank, and they were like, yeah, what? No
more money.
We finance when you do a car dealership. We finance this when you want to buy rental homes. We finance this, but this crazy idea, very hard to finance. So I was looking for a bank to get the funds to finance this idea. This alone took me half a year, and after this, finally accomplished, we were able to produce the polishes.
Yeah.
And after this, 2 years later, we acquired another company who were very deep into these battery systems.
Okay.
This was in 2012, where the first iteration of our small battery polisher came, which has little similarities to very well-known ancient brand of polisher.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah. The Rupes Nano he's talking about. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And then things went further. So people recognized us. We generated some very, very high attention out of Germany, especially in Eastern Europe, in countries like Czech, Poland, Slovakia, because people like the idea of getting cheap items which you can rely on, which have a certain quality and not break apart after 6 months of usage, or promise something which is not true. And this is always what is very important to me. In Germany we have so many brands who make a quick detailer and ceramic graphene shine 20 years long all day stuff for $50 a bottle. This is, you don't want to people up with,
It's a beat.
don't do this. This is not our intention.
So I want to challenge you a little bit. So Rupes made the 5-inch LHR 15. Todd Cooperrider and Kevin Brown sort of found it in the U.S. I would be willing to bet that Rupes became more popular in Germany and Europe because of the U.S., right?
Absolutely.
And so those two guys, they saw it at SEMA. They had a booth at SEMA, probably trying to sell some body shop sanders and stuff. But they had this long throw polisher. Of course, Kevin Brown started, doing washer mod on it in order to get more performance out of it because of the pad stall. Rest is history. Now Rupes has this amazing facility in the U.S. And so I have a strong loyalty to that. I like brands. I'm a brand loyalist. But if the brand, for me, if the brand doesn't continue to innovate and continue to improve, they may get left behind. But how is your machine not just, did you just buy an LHR 15, tear it apart, and just make another version of it? I mean,
you could do so, but this is not my intention of doing things. So I was not, until now, I never had an LHR, I think in Germany we call it the Bigfoot polisher. I never ever had one in my hands, yet. Even the new, I saw it on the desk, the new battery polisher of Rupes, I never ever had one in my hands.
So you didn't just buy a bunch of polishers, tear them apart?
Usually you buy, tear them apart, buy 5 machines, tear them all apart, and just check what are the disadvantages of the others.
Right.
But I don't want to look up the disadvantages of the others and come over these. I want to check what are the possibilities I got. So I just use the best of my resources to do the best for the market. And sometimes this fails, for sure. We saw this two times ago where we brought out a polisher which was not that good than the competition at the same price. And we took this machine off 6 months after because the market refused to buy. But this is a positive thing because the market gives you the value. So when the people refuse to buy your product and no one's talking about it in a good way, you did something really, really wrong. So you have to listen to people, not listen to competitors, listen to the market, because the market wants the product. The competitor just shows you the actual state of technology. But when you want to improve, you have to listen to the market. And as you say, in first instance, you have to solve problems which the customer not even know yet. And this is what I always tend or try to think about, what could be the next problem which occurs. And maybe it's just buying an hybrid at a fraction of the price. This could be a problem. And it was a guessing game because when you remember back in 2018, since 2018, Rupes and we were the only 2 brands, from what I know, producing such a small polisher on this nanoscale. There were no brands around, known by me, which did so, because Rupes was always telling me, yeah, we got a patent, you can't copy this, and they forced every engagement, every uprise down at first instance. And we were the only guys who were still holding up and like, yeah, we still want to try this. And now we have some, I think, hundreds of copies of this size of polishers, but since then, this wasn't possible. So the market gives you got an idea, and the market gives you the direction, if it was the right one or the wrong one. And we sold so many pieces, I can't even imagine the number. But I think this was the right direction in this way.
So the first machine you made was a 1-inch, competitor to the hybrid, right? It looked similar to the hybrid, so they came after you, right?
Absolutely.
And then you utilized that to say, look, I don't want to be in the come after me life. I just want to do it bespoke. I want to do it.
Exactly.
And so what I think a lot of people will assume is that, say, the 4000T is just from the same Chinese factory as all the other Chinese brands, but you're telling me it's not. It's your own relationship, your own manufacturer, and then you guys have bespoke made all the parts and pieces, including the gear set and all of that stuff. Now you're sourcing parts from different manufacturers.
You don't need to reinvent the switch, the power switch, or the speed dialing wheel. You source this from manufacturers who do this on a 1,000 each day basis.
But there isn't a factory that's just putting together polishers and you're just putting together your own polisher. Because that's the thing that frustrates the heck out of me. All these pressure washer companies, it's like, let's put some different plastic around the same...
They mostly do it like this. In the pressure washer game, but in the polisher factories, it's mainly like you have a well-known array of components. So there are 4 suppliers for the electric motors. There are 5 suppliers for the switches and the speed dials. It's just about the price. Do you want to spend $4 or $5? 5. This is just about the price what you can buy from which supplier. It's the same as in the automotive industry. So, for example, you can buy I know that Ford, Jaguar takes the engines from Ford.
Right.
So you buy a Ford. This is why most of the Jaguars you can buy have a heated windscreen, because this technology comes from Ford. Ford is major technology leader in heated windscreens. So they implement this into Jaguar as well. And no one is asking why do everybody share technology in this industry.
Right.
The same happens in every branch, in every industry. So it's just about the...
So where does the innovation come in? Is it about the selection of the components, the curation of the components, or is it the re-engineering of the components? Or is it a combination?
A little bit of both of these aspects in combination. So you try to source the best. As I may be the main leading engineer, so I work with the Chinese engineers as well. We are 3 persons in total. To figure out what is the best idea we got, and we try to test this on the market, on our partners, on different detailers, and when we get the succession back, then we throw this into the market. But we are always after some improvements. So it is also about innovation, and you think about, is it possible to make this counter flywheel in a different position, out of a different material, in a different shape? These are ideas I go to bed with. This is what I'm living for.
And that's where 3D printing helps you to take SolidWorks
Absolutely.
into reality, obviously not a production part, but something you can at least touch and feel and maybe even test. And then from there you can decide if you want to spend $5,000 to $30,000 on the injection mold to actually produce.
So I still got pictures from 2016 where I made the first invention of a 40 millimeter orbit throw polisher. The throw was like this. It laid on the ground on its back and were completely vibration free running. I made it out of a 3D printed part, this whole orbital mechanism. I took large M60 screws as a counterweights because you can threw them up and down and take them out and insert it back easily. 8 of these as a counterweight, and an also 3D printed carbon fiber backing plate. This was quite, so this is not rocket science. In the end, it's just about 3 things. It's about ergonomics. It's the sound and performance you get out of this whole drivetrain, and this is about the brand you buy. As you were saying, you're also a brand guy. So why do people go to Starbucks? Because they build relation to this brand. And when someone would ask me, why should I buy a polisher? I would always say we try to be the best in our region. There may be some out there which for sure could be better, but I don't know. We always strive for being the best, and we want to be your partner. So you can rely on, when you buy a Liquid Elements machine, you always tend to buy latest technology. So whether it's detachable quartz, which we implemented recently, and this will also be shipped in a few months, I guess, to the US. In Europe is already available. These are some invention we are always thinking about. This is worth to implement, because not every invention is a sensible or good invention. But we try to improve this on a frequent basis, so the customer always gets the best value for his money.
So 2 questions. Why 15 millimeter and 21 millimeter? Aren't you just stealing Rupes's, like they're the ones who, did they come up with that? Why 15 millimeter orbit? Why 21? Where does that come from? And if you're, well, answer that question first, and then I'll ask you that.
15 and 21 millimeter is a really simple answer. In Europe, it feels like the industry standard. And this is props to Rupes, honorably, something to take into account, that formerly we had 8 and 10 millimeter orbit sizes. And Rupes fixed this with 50 and 21 millimeter because everyone was talking about the Rupes Bigfoot. This is something that did really well in marketing for sure, to establish something like an industry standard, like the 125 or equal 5-inch backing plate. This is where you stick to. So Festool, for instance, tried to make a 137 millimeter backing plate. No one bought it because no pads. They sold the polishing pads for $25. This was insane. This standard couldn't be established. So this is why we stick to this. So this is my second question. If you're telling me that you only do things original, bespoke, we would say in the US, right? Why does your polisher look like a polisher? Why does it look like every other polisher? How did you not just create some weird double-handled, completely different thing? Why? I was making my mind a crazy long time about this, and this was also a main question of the judge when we were Yeah, finding a lawsuit because when you get a toothbrush, an electric one, the shape is technically based. So you can't make it in a whole different way because you need to enter a certain section.
Okay.
The same when you're polishing some reels, you need to enter a certain section.
Okay.
So when you go to the bed, the geometry of the tool has to be in a certain way. This is similar to screwdrivers.
Okay.
You can't make screwdrivers like this. It
Right.
makes no sense. So this is where most of the designers or engineers are saying in first instance, form follows function, or the other way around.
Okay.
So the basic technology of a polisher relies on a certain geometry of the parts. I was just thinking about something which we internally call the Cyborg project. This is a polisher where I have a power unit. We have a small version of this with us.
Yep.
You attach 2 batteries, 21 volts, to be in parallel for boosting up to 42. You wear on your hips, then
Right.
you have an extension cord, and you have a motor on the back of your hand, and you just have a magnetic attachment system for different
Right. So that to me would be fresh, new. Bespoke,
Absolutely,
right?
but now there comes the regulations. In Germany, it's not possible to have a body-attached power tool due to regulations.
Interesting.
So this is
So
unable
this
to
is why
solve.
you go back to the established
You go-
standard because of the cost to reinvent the wheel becomes almost they regulate your. That's
They regulate
interesting.
your wheel to death. So this cyborg-like, more ergonomic, because imagine this, you only have one motor, a brushless motor, 1 kilowatt of power, right on the back of your hand. You just magnetically attach different tools, and it's very ergonomic. You can drive it in a very smooth way. But the power running through the system is so high that it exceeds a certain regulated cap. And when you go over this cap, the certification institution,
So
it
you're,
doesn't allow.
so you're sitting in a room with a bunch of regulators trying to get this new product approved.
You're
and then
negotiating,
You
you're
could
arguing.
get it done, but it may you may
No
not
one
have
would
the funds
certify.
to do it, right?
Yeah.
You may not have the funds
you,
to
you
continue.
can make a different move. You can sell this as a prototype item for testing.
Yeah.
So when I find 100 detailers worldwide which are willing to cooperate with us in this way, we can sell it as a beta test non-certified product. This would be an option, but if any accident will happen, we're not responsible. So this is why this certification makes sense in many ways, but it either limits you in some nice inventions.
And so that's why you're stuck in your engineering or your
Absolutely.
designing. You're like, well, if I want any chance of ever getting this to market,
Yeah.
I've got to play within the sandbox, where the sandbox is
Exactly.
already established, and because of industry
You have
standards.
to engineer
That's
to
really
their rules.
fascinating.
Yeah. It's like Koenigsegg, or there are some other car manufacturers. There is a rule in the car industry: when you only build 100 pieces of a car,
Yeah.
you then have to get a certification. This is
Gotcha.
why some of the supercars are insanely loud, speedy, unsafe, things like this, because they don't need a certification.
Or they do some new weird wheel, or carbon fiber wheels. or
Exactly.
They do some
3D
new
printed
parts.
wheels.
Right. Something new and interesting.
Yeah.
Because I look at a polisher, I'm like, why does it have to look like this?
Yeah.
And if you're telling me that we're going to make something fresh, why does it look like every other polisher?
Yeah.
Well, now it
I'm
makes
always
sense.
after something new and fresh, and this is why it's very important for me to talk to persons like you, because you cannot imagine with how many people I went to the drawing board, and we were like having a beer, sitting down and just drawing things, and we were like, okay, we have specs like this.
Yeah.
What can we do with this kind of sandbox?
Yeah.
What's possible?
See, I love that. This is why guys like us need to get together. He's a practitioner, right?
Absolutely.
So he's using the tool.
Yeah.
I'm a shopper, right? I'm a dreamer when it comes to what could be in my garage. And then you're the producer. You actually take the feedback of the doer, the feedback of the dreamer, and then you execute in the manufacturing realm. And so I think that's why we're together here on this podcast. And then we can make cool things that maybe nobody ever thought of. But it's fascinating of why things look the way they do.
Yeah.
And
We could extend this to 20 hours podcast, I guess, by speaking about such little details, but it's insane
Yeah.
what's going on there.
So let's jump up and show the 3 machines that I have here. Maybe you can convince me. I wasn't planning on carrying the 3-inch in an Obsessed Garage. But let's take the 3 current machines that are coming over. We're bringing the 2 over to start. The T4000 version 1.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
know that the version 2 exists, but you need to get UL approval, right,
Yeah.
for the
It is different
detachable power
voltage. This is why we need a new approval, a new
Right.
certification.
So it's fine in Germany, and I understand we're a little behind, but we already have the approval for the T4000 or the 4000 version 1.
Exactly.
And so when we get approval for version 2, that'll be available in some months, down the road. But I didn't want to wait. I want to say, hey, this thing's great. Let's bring it here.
Because if you wait all the time for the next evolving step, then you wait forever, because in 2 years we will coming up with another brand and another model with another improvement. It's like the iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm a big proponent of you, like let's say in investing. A lot of people will try to time it, right? I've always been an advocate of when you have the money, you invest it. And if you do that at all times, sometimes you're going to buy high, sometimes you're going to buy low.
Exactly.
But if you dollar cost average, when your dollars are available, instead of attempting to catch a bottom, because you probably aren't going to get it correct, it's the same thing with products. When I need a laptop, I buy a Mac, right? So when I need a laptop, I buy a new Mac, and I get it when I'm ready for it, instead of always waiting. No, I'm just going to get whatever's available right now. Now, if I know tomorrow the new
That would be the
version-
next new CPU.
Right.
Yeah, like
right.
this.
If I know like literally tomorrow is coming out or they're doing an announcement, I might wait a week.
Yeah, because it's worth it.
But I'm not going to be like, it's because Mac Rumor says it's mid-cycle.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I need it right now. I'm not going to wait 6 months for it.
Yeah.
And so same thing with with pretty much all products. Just buy it when you need it.
Absolutely right.
So let's go take a look at the machines.
Will do.
So this is T4000.
Yeah.
This is version 1. We're getting in the US here. What's available in Germany is version 2, right? Well, the only difference is the power cord.
The power cord, the ECU, and the dialing wheel for the different stages.
Is a little different.
Yeah.
When do we expect to see? I don't want people to have to wait. Maybe 6 months from now or something like that. How long do you think? Maybe a year?
Could be.
Yeah.
It's-
So I don't think people need. I don't think you need to wait.
Yeah, no.
The
Yeah.
Delta is not like life-changingly
exactly.
different.
To put this into perspective, number-wise, the ECU and the different speed dial makes up approx 10 to 50% more output power because it handles the incoming power a little bit more efficiently. But you only will notice this when you compare them side by side.
Gotcha.
And this is the same thing, like you said, when I can buy an iPhone or an iPad, an Apple Book, something like this. When I pay $150 more for the better CPU, I get a little bit of performance.
Yeah.
Same here. So what you have to take into account, this 50% performance increase also come at a price point
Gotcha.
because it's a bit more expensive.
All right. So explain the machine on. So we have. It's brushed. So there are brushes in this machine.
Yeah.
Doesn't it come with a couple of them in the?
yes,
Yeah, so we have a spare brushes,
there.
kit.
Expectation of when they wear out. It's many hours.
Yeah,
isn't it?
very long. So I got a feedback from one of our most frequent users who used this machine for 2 years on every car he does on a business basis,
Yep.
And then asked for a new set of brushes. And I was telling him like, yeah, just open your bag, and he was like, oh yeah, there it is.
Gotcha. So then the brushes are on the side here.
Exactly,
So
easy to change
you
by
have easy
unscrewing these
access.
plates.
Right. What is this?
This is just the holder for this front part here. So this is the gear cover.
Okay.
This is quite usual. We still have this. You see this these dimples here. This is some ancient thing coming from the D handles you use
For your Turkish guys, you're saying
for
in Turkey they like the
in
D
Turkey
handle.
they like the D handles. They still want to have this. So we maybe this will in some iteration it will be taken out from the mold.
Yeah.
But it is still in due to the demand from Turkey.
Gotcha. And then we have a torque limiter or torque
This is something
sensor?
really innovative. We were talking about the innovations recently because I was in the thinking about how can we make this, how can we lower the entry level to get started with the polishing. So most of the people I was talking about are complaining about their fear that they may be damaging the paint.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, is there any technical solution we can come over this? And I was inspired by the Oral-B pressure sensor from the toothbrushes,
Okay,
because
gotcha.
a polisher is quite next to a toothbrush in the technical
Sure.
transported way. So we implemented this pressure sensor. It measures the back pressure which comes from the spin and from the force needed to drive the motor.
Okay.
So there's a sensor in here which can recognize if you you may notice this when you're angling the machine, you tilt it or you press a little too high. In
Changes from green to red.
It changes from green to red, exactly. And we figured out the optimum pressure is approximately 4.5 kilograms, including machine. This is the pressure you maybe should put on the paint. We figured this out by measurements together with some engineers at Manzerna polishing.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
With some test plates.
Yeah.
So these were the perfect pressure we implemented into the ECU. When you go to stage 6, it's deactivated. So because we feel that people who are running on the highest stage just won't have the full cutting power.
And so this sensor doesn't cut any power or anything.
No,
it just just flat.
Just notifies you visually.
Visual.
Exactly.
And so now I noticed that there is a gap, right? So the backing plate does not touch the shroud. And I also noticed, like, this is a cooling, like the fan. Like I kind of keep my face in there. And
Yeah,
like
it
my
is.
hair's
Yeah, you
blowing
get some
back,
nice kind of ventilation. Yeah.
What's that all about?
This is just about because I was thinking about why does some of the competitors make it aligning to this rubber kind of spacer. It makes no sense because it draws power from the system. So what you do is you put approximately 1,000 watts into a machine. You have 3 stages of depowering, of lowering the extraction power. You transfer into the paint. So the first stage is the motor itself. It has an efficiency grade. So the usual brush motor transports approx 60% of this power. So you only have 600 watts left to the gears. The gears
Where does the other power go?
temperature. So it's a simple equation. Physics function like when you emit a power in a certain way, it just transforms to another form. It's not gone. So power is never ever gone. You emit light and heat. This is why LEDs are so efficient. Because a usual light bulb just emits 1% light and 99% dissipating heat. This is why they're getting hot. The LED is the other way around.
Gotcha.
And this is the same case here. So the electric brush motor has physical contacts which grind, and this physical grinding drowns the power because there is some friction, exactly. And this friction causes heat. So the power, 40% of the power disappears in heat.
And so the air that's being expelled, is there a fan in here, or is that just from the gear set spinning?
You can see the backing plate. So this here, in combination with cutouts in here, and these cutouts work like a centrifugal compressor. So you take an air in. We are the rotary part of the motion, and it's working like a centrifugal compressor for example, graphic card coolers from NVIDIA. They are also shaped like this. They have a high spin rate to compress air a little to blow it right through the system. It's the same working principle here.
So power comes in. There's a stator. Is that like a winding? Like how does this work?
It's a winding in the housing. And then there's the rotor inside, which is driven by this. The stator is electrically powered. It's driving the rotor. It transmits the power to this fan you can see here, which gives more active cooling. It's like on an airplane turbine.
So the air comes out the back.
The air comes out from the back, cooling the ECU, which also takes up some of the power. And then we have the gears. This is a crown gear, so you have a little worm coming out from the motor through the fans here, driving a crown gear. And this is where most part of the noise happens. So we're also working on, due to the fact we are a chemical company as well, on the liquids to dampen noises, to give them another frequency. What you may have noticed that our polishes have a high sound level, but they don't have this whining, high grinding, high pitched noise.
Yeah, like my Milwaukee has a real grindy sound to it.
We can't get rid of the noise at all, but we can remodulate the frequencies due to the fact that we can we can influence the geometry of the teeth of the gears a little and the lubricant we use.
So that's why somebody had made a comment in one of my videos, said just take your Milwaukee apart and use this oil or lubricant and it will quiet it down. So you were working on pioneering some more lubricants that could make the machine even quieter. So then the gear set then transfers through a little shaft, and then there's a counterweight, and that helps to balance the machine.
Yeah, the counterweight is basically just for activating the spin. So you need to push something offset off the middle of the shaft to activate the spin, and this is not the start of this rotary motion. The rotary motion comes from the countering of, two technical terms, centrifugal and centripetal forces. So the centrifugal force is the one which wants to flee from the system to the outside, like on a centrifuge.
Yeah. So that creates the random
Exactly.
rather than just not direct
Yeah.
rotary, then it kind of flicks it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And this is where motor erosion is occurring, and the centripetal force is the counterpart. So it always wants to come to the center again via the counterweight. So this motion creates this pattern we know. I know Kevin Brown once made a drawing with some pencils on a backing plate decades ago, where he was showing this pattern which a random orbital polisher creates.
Right. So then how is this thing, what did you do? This is what I was saying in my video the other day, is that this is, I just polished that hood so I don't want to mess it up here, but this machine has more natural upright balance than any other polisher I've ever used. Every other polisher, shoot, I even have this heavy power cord hanging off of it.
It's an 8 meters power cord.
And so the natural, like Rupes and Milwaukee, take any machine, the natural inclination is for it to sit slightly lifted, right? And so you really have to concentrate on thumb down in order to get the thing flat. And so actually, if I take the weight off of this and just put this on the floor, the machine is, and I said this from a beginner's perspective, is the most user-friendly machine I've ever used because it just has a natural flat tendency. I don't have to lift up or I don't have to manage it. Now, I did complain about I hate this thing, so why is this big gooseneck on here?
Yeah, it's because of the beginners.
Gotcha.
Absolutely,
So
because
you
it's
would
far
hold,
easier to handle.
Right. Gotcha. So we were talking about maybe making a Possess Garage version of a lopped off, thing there.
To get rid of this, yeah.
So what did you do to make this happen?
Quite simple thing. We just pushed. Just make a comparison on cars. On cars, you want to have an ideal weight ratio of 50% front, 50% rear, so that you have no under or oversteering. It's the same on this device. So when you want to balance it right to ensure its property, because its property is you want to have the weight and the force in this direction, but you're just able to balance these parts which causes the weight. So it's mainly the metal parts. This doesn't weigh that much at all. It's the electric motor and it's the gears, which is the heaviest part of the machine. So only thing you have to do is just to make the gear a little smaller, make the shaft a little shorter, and push the motor 3 centimeters in front, and then
like
you're
a
done.
mid-engine.
Like a mid-engine. So when you have a Porsche, it's very it's something like a rear engine. But when you have, for example, I got a BMW i8. It has a so tiny. It has a mid-engine. This is just about weight balancing to achieve a performance which everybody recognizes when they have the polisher. And
that was the biggest thing that I noticed immediately. I'm like, I could.
I sensed it immediately when I had it the first time in my hand. That was
just bang, sitting flat. It's quiet, the machine is quiet. It's quieter than the other machines, so that comes from the lubricant, right, that you're choosing, and the gear set that you're choosing. And so these are the things that make it, even though you're asking, so explain your pricing philosophy to us, because I said, why don't I just sell us for $500?
They are far too cheap, Most of ours, we get the most complaints not from the customers, we get them from the resellers, because the reseller is just telling me, Sebastian, make it double the price and I will make double the profit. And I'm always like, this is not what the equation is going to be. So you have to think about it. When you have 100 customers buying a polisher and when you have 50 customers buying a polisher. So the 50 customer case is when I double the price. But when I have a certain margin, which is not really high on this machine percentage-wise, but the gain, to keep it simple, is far better when you have the lower priced machine, because more people have access to this technology. So you have a quicker turnover on your mold costs. You have more 3D business cards outside because more people recognize your technology and your advantages. When you want to keep your product secret because it has some flaws or it's not that compatible for the masses at all, you just sell, let's say, only a few pieces at a very overpriced rate. But when you are sure that your quality can compete with some well-known brands or with some other price ranges, then you can do this move. And in the end, it will be beneficial of both, because many people are using this machine and you will get funds from many people.
The thing you have to remember, my friend Larry Kosilla talks about this, you want the businesses that you want to frequent to be in business. So you want them to be profitable. profitable.
Yeah.
If they're not profitable, then they won't be in business. And so there's this, sort of delicate balance of what you're talking about is the net result is if I charge less, I make less, but I charge less, I'll sell more.
Yeah.
And after I net out the, my
Again,
earnings
it's higher.
before taxes, right, and interest, then my EBITDA, they say, is
Yeah.
then higher because the volume will help to achieve
the volume
that.
helps. So this is something like, this is how crowdfunding works. Get $10 from each guy to build your own car.
Yeah.
But when 1 million people funds this project, you have 10 million to fund your car.
Right.
So this is our philosophy. We want to get in touch with people on a frequent base because we calculate with a customer lifetime value. So the customer values us not for one single product he will buy in 10 years. He's hopefully obsessed by the quality, by the idea of the brand, and then he frequently buys not only this product, even other products, because he recognizes that we care about the price and even the quality and performance.
So to get the price where it's at, what did you have to sacrifice?
At least nearly nothing. I think just marketing. This is when most of the people ask me, why does this price occur, or why can large companies don't do this? For example, we have a company, it has a very well known in Germany, it has a red logo, also sells screws and things like this at a very high price point. They have a very huge workforce. The owner doesn't know where to spend his money. But I'm like, I don't want to get rich, I want to get known. This is the main intention. So we want to lead people to this kind of product. So what we sacrifice is workforce. We scale very good. So we only have 30 employees in Germany, but we scale a lot because you don't need people that are visiting you, that are come to you and show you some certain kind of product because it's cheap. So the entry level is quite low. We don't have to explain some fancy kinds of LEDs or some other stuff which is maybe worth 3 times the price. We don't have to explain this because the price is that low. So we save on the workforce, save on the marketing. We mainly do social media and corporations.
Gotcha. So would you say you built this machine what it needs to be?
Absolutely.
And then figured out what to price it?
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's
This
my
is the way.
methodology in the
Yeah,
world. Right?
absolutely.
Build it what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And then if it...
Two simple things, just to hop there in. You recognize this is black powder coated.
Yep.
Nearly no one does this, just CNC machines. But we make it black powder coated because it disappears the heat even better. We made this here. You can hear this. It's very rough sound. So when you tap this one, you hear it? It's higher pitched. This is glass fiber filled nylon. It's the highest grade engineering material you can use. So this, just make a guess, for instance, is far more sturdy and reliable than some of the competitors.
Less chance of it breaking and dropping.
Yeah,
Right.
because we used to have this once.
Yeah.
It was a machine, a customer was working on the roof and he was dropping the machine. It broke apart, it was still running and he got an electric shock. And this was the only time this happened, I think, 9 years ago, and I was like, whoa, I'm gonna take this as a sign, as an opportunity to improve something. As I said before, we always strive to get a little better, and the Chinese guys were like, okay, let's spend $5 more on the housing material, and we are done with it, and we can achieve the best glass fiber filled nylon to make this stiff and sturdy, and we did.
The A1000, so you don't have, this is the only electric plug-in, right, that
Exactly.
you have, right? Do you have any other plug-ins in Germany, or?
We have. The range is quite wide. We have the T2000. It's the smaller version of this one with 750 watts.
Okay.
Then we
8
have
mil.
8 millimeter of spin, exactly. And there is an option of interchanging the backing plate to a 75 or 3-inch backing plate.
Okay.
And then we have the option of the 21 millimeter orbit throw version, T5000, for the more large surfaces for professional painters.
Are
or
you
for
planning
trucks.
to bring those to the US, or we're going to kind of see how it goes?
The 21 probably, if the market is asking for it, because actually we see the 15 mil, as you said, is the sweet spot you want to be in.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I know Larry Cosilla is a big fan of the 21 mil. I mean,
Yeah.
Mary,
Well,
when he says, "Hey, bring it over because we like it."
Yeah, I got quite a few. Lots of detailers will do the 21 just because the perceived efficiency difference. So talk to me about this thing. So this is battery powered. What do I need to know about this thing? What's different?
The battery running time is the main sacrificial thing most of the people are talking about. So we deliver this as a kit always. You get a charger, you get 2 batteries, and you get a whole bunch of accessories like a brush for carpets, an upholstery brush, exactly.
Yeah.
You get different attachments. You can change from 3mm orbital to, when I have it in mind correctly, 8mm orbital, and a rotary adapter.
Got it.
You have 45 minutes of running time on each battery on an average usage. So it mainly depends on how much power you take from the system. When you apply certain kind of pressure, if the pressure is higher, the power is drained faster. But the charging time of the battery is also 45 minutes. So when you have 2 batteries, you can achieve a constant workflow of a few hours. But my recommendation at on all battery polishers, because many of you already have noticed that when you charge them too quick and these cycles stack up, so for example, when you're polishing 6 hours and just interchanging, batteries are getting hot by time. And then the contacts can get damaged. So my recommendation to everyone using battery polishers, always make a pause of half an hour after 2 hours of use.
Gotcha. So don't just throw it on the charger. You're saying throw it on the
charging,
table.
it causes also. Do you have some charging losses? We were on the energy equation.
Yep.
So when you charge a battery, you have 10 to 50% in energy losses due to this thermal activity, and this heats up the battery. When you drain the energy, the same happens.
So I'm polishing now. When you're polishing, I'm not using this for 6 hours.
No.
Right? I'm using this for
sections like
6
this.
minutes. And then put
That's
this
the case.
down, and I'm grabbing this, and I'm using that for 25 minutes, and I'm putting that down.
Exactly.
And so what your suggestion is, if I use this, let's say I used it for 20 minutes. Take the battery out, set it on the table, grab the other battery, put it in. And then when you remember...
Whether it's empty or not, this doesn't make... Just put them away for a few minutes.
Manage heat.
Manage heat, that's the case.
Gotcha. And so then this particular machine is the hybrid 12mm orbit?
Yes.
It's 12, yeah.
The hybrid is a 12.
We reworked it.
How do I get 12 then? I want 12. When does that come?
Yeah, it was a degradation in the orbit size due to some facts we discussed before.
Gotcha.
It was also part of this, negotiation.
Gotcha. Okay. And then the 3-inch is this machine here.
Exactly.
I'd be interested in that. So there is a 3-inch corded version too. We should probably think about bringing that over as well in the future. I've been using this a little bit. This is the loudest machine. Why is this one so much louder than the other two?
It is a pre-batch. So we had 100 machines manufactured usually we have this semi-automated equipment for assembly.
Okay.
And here we have some wider variation in the specs where we don't look that specifically after sound levels, things like this. So
Gotcha,
when you imagine...
All right, so this isn't a production machine. This is
this is a pre-production machine, so we wanted to shoot this out quickly to our testers. Some users were asking for it. We even had some guys here, no matter, even if it has no stickers, just ship it to me. I wanted to test it.
And what is the orbit on this?
Orbit on this, on the 70mm or 3-inch backing plate is 12mm as well.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think we have 8mm on the smaller version, exactly like the A1000. So
now explain to me, I don't want you, I'm going to do this to you, make you sell somebody else's machine. Why does this sound like that? Why is it different?
Because it has no gears. It's an absolutely nice engineered machine. So
brushless. No gears. So no brushes, no gears.
3 aspects. Brushless, so you don't have these grinding contacts, makes less noise. You have no gears. Gears make approx 80% of the noise on the polisher.
Okay.
And it is very compact, so you don't have much power. Power can cause resonancy, and these frequencies transfer to the body. When you have a small, sturdy body where all the parts are very tight together, the frequency can't build up. On a larger polisher, frequencies are more easily to expand, to build up.
Think about like a subwoofer, like low frequencies need long distance.
Transmissions lines of subwoofers do exactly this.
You can hear it a long way away, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So, and then you also had mentioned, in order for this to work, it has some pretty sophisticated ECU, right?
The ECU is one of the best I've ever. I didn't even assemble it yet, but from my technical knowledge, what I can imagine is into this machine, this is really superior.
And that's why it's so much money.
Yeah. This is why you pay 850?
880, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 900 in the US.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's for this kind of technology, I guess it's worth it. So we used to recently talk about this. I think about this kind of technology since 11 years, and I was always like, oh, I don't know if there is any market of a polisher high price like this,
Yeah.
even for our, let's say, brand culture. But I used to talk to so much guys now recently asking for technology like this that I'm now more driven to this direction of, yeah, maybe someday we will do something like this.
Well, you just think about the main user of these is the practitioner, right? The detailer, the person who is doing it for hours on end, sometimes 2-3 cars a day,
Yeah.
with a team, and so just the combined fatigue
Yeah.
difference.
Fatigue
of
is the
this.
main
Yeah.
point.
Right, and so ear, hearing, fatigue,
The emissions,
beating up the body,
the vibrations.
right,
exactly.
right, and so now most of these practitioners, a lot of them are cheap, right? But if you can, some of these like auto mechanics are buying Snap-on tools and overpaying for all that stuff,
Yeah.
paying an insane amount of money, and so this, you can get the job done with any of these other 3-inch machines, but if you're doing this all day, every day for a living, having something like this, would make a lot of sense.
This is always the compromise. So as you say, all these devices will get the job technically done.
Sure.
But for the sake of what? So when you take as a person, health-wise into account, the points of fatigue and vibrations are the main things we always want to get rid of.
Yeah.
And this is a good example of how you can get rid of in a best technical way from what I know.
But the beauty of what we're talking about here with the LE philosophy, the make the product what it needs to be, and then figure out the price. And if the price is great, we don't have to artificially create a high price.
That's the
right?
case.
Just because everybody else's is.
Yeah.
And so you have economies of scale and efficiencies of having a small, efficient, newer company. Sure, as you get bigger, then you start to get fat, right? You start to have a bunch of extra people that you really don't need that then has to get passed off to the consumer. Okay. And so if you can manage that efficiently over time. But I think that this type of machine, the reason why I think this could become so popular is that now I've been very successful in life. I do polish much more than the average person, but nowhere near what a practitioner would. And so because of my modicum of success, I would buy this, right? But if I was, making considerably less money, I don't know that I would value, I don't know that I would spend this, right? And so the purpose of me, considering this stuff and bringing this into my world is because I understand that, especially after going through the pressure. I didn't always understand that. I do understand that now. There's a progression in life. There's a progression with cars. There's a progression with watches. There's a progression with clothing and shoes. There's a progression with most things in life. And some people draw a line and say, look, I've reached the progress that I want. Like in my case, a Porsche 911 is sort of the peak. I don't want a Koenigsegg. I don't want a Wyra. I don't want a 812 Superfast. I just don't. I mean, now that may change if my economics changed, right? So that may change over time. But I think that most people, this is not practical, it's not intelligent, it doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense if you're polishing one car every 6 months in your garage by yourself, if you don't have the economies of scale to be able to purchase something like this.
Yeah.
So if you're not making $200,000-$300,000 a year, you probably shouldn't buy this, unless this is what you do. And so that's where this becomes so popular. And the thing that I'm so excited about was, again, when I stuck it on the panel, I'm like, okay.
It's well balanced.
And then I turned it on after having used some of the other machines, and it's quieter, it's more efficient.
Less vibration.
Less vibrating, it stalls less. As I was kind of getting that little air conditioning, from the vent on the side, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, of course, you have aspirations in the future to make, cordless machines as well, too, which we'll save that for another video. So that's the story, people, is why they're here. He flew from Germany to continue to solidify this, because I'm a skeptic, and despite what people think, I'm not money motivated. Money is, we talked about this when we first met, money is a result of something.
Exactly. It's a tool.
I'm motivated by the passion for this, whatever it is we're doing in the garage. I'm motivated by the passion, the pursuit of putting together a complete set of things.
You have to be doing it like this.
Yeah, that you're looking at right there is probably 600 hours of my time.
That's insane.
Between catalog research and spreadsheet, and then trying to decide what to order, and then unboxing it and putting it in a drawer, and then taking it out of the drawer, and then putting it back in another drawer, and then and then taking it from that drawer to here, and then pulling some things out, and then deciding, well, I like these Hazettes better. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours of shopping.
Yeah.
But it's what I'm born to do, right?
And this
because
is what
I've
we were
enjoyed
talking
it.
about.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
So your passion is building this.
Absolutely.
And all the little, each one of these, each screw, each, the light bulbs, the access for the brushes.
There is a sense.
All the internal
On
components.
most of the components.
Yeah.
There is a sense.
Well,
Yeah.
with the exception of this one, for him.
Yeah, there was for him.
It's fine.
So it always depends, and this is what's important to say. At least it's depend on what perspective you got. As you were explaining before,
100%.
for what reason you're doing this, what recommendations do you got personally. So, and what are you feeling about the ergonomics? And this is something we didn't mention at all. This is what some people asking: why are your polishes tending to be more and more faceted, this diamond-like shape? Because I was once asking someone, when you're holding one of our polishers in your hands and you held another tool in your hand, whether it's an impact drill or something like this, what do you feel? And he was like, it feels not that comfortable like your polisher. And I was like, look at this. This is not round, whether it's edged. It's something like a pattern of different angles.
Yeah.
And I just took my hand as a medium-sized hand, as a blueprint to creating all these bodies. And this is what is only possible when you have the manufacturing capabilities and the freedom of designing in these tools. And this is what is possible in this small scale sandbox to improve the ergonomics, to improve the weight relations of the tool and the sound level and things like this.
And that's your passion. That's your
Absolutely.
eating ice cream, right?
My eating ice cream is this.
Is that. And so I think together then we can change the world.
I hope so.
Hope so.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure we'll be doing more stuff together, but thanks everybody. Thanks Sebastian for flying all the way over here just to make this darn
Thanks
video.
you for listening.
Just to make this video. I was a skeptic. I want to continue to be able to share. Like I think about this, and I want to be able to say in a video, I think this is stupid. Why is this here? This is dumb. I don't like this. And I want to continue to be able to maintain. That's what people are. That's why they trust me. That's why they
Because you're honest.
now that turns some people off, because if they have this machine, now they're offended, right? Because I'm
I see.
attacking their choice.
Yeah.
That's not my intent. My intent is to be candid, honest, and then if I have great partners, then you can take that feedback for what it's worth. Either you can talk me out of it, which I'm happy to be talked out of, or we can adjust. Make adjustments.
This is what this communication we got already is all about.
Right.
We can negotiate about certain parts, so you can maybe understand why we did it this way, or I can understand why we maybe can do it in another way, and find a solution for maybe a larger audience. So this is what it's all about, just seeking for the solutions for a widest range of people.
So put your comments, questions or ask your questions in the comments down below, and I'm sure Demo will chime in. Sebastian will chime in through Demo. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Our target date here, have they left?
Yes.
So they're on the water.
They're on the water.
So we're probably late May. We may discuss a pre-order, or if we might just, since they're on the way, we may just put it live. Tommy doesn't like pre-orders. He hates that.
He hates that.
Yeah, I like pre-orders. It gets me money. It gets me money before I have to pay.
It's something like Christmas before Christmas.
Yeah. Give me the money before I got to pay for it, and then that's the best way to do it. So anyway, make sure hit me up if you have questions. You can always hit up support@obsessedgarage.com. The ones that are coming: T4000 version 1, the A1000 version 1 as well, and then possibly 3-inch in the future. The production version of the 3-inch, maybe possibly some other cordless stuff, and some of the other stuff you talked about in the future. Yeah, so lots of cool stuff. And then the long-term plan is to have the full LE line, or most of it, here in the U.S. available to you as well. And so I'll be sure to make sure you guys know when that's available, when we have that live. We're starting with these 2 machines, and then we'll build on that as time goes on. So thanks, guys, for being so candid. I hope I didn't throw you.
Thanks for having us.
We didn't plan this ahead. I just said, look,
No, it was very spontaneous.
I'm going to try to. I'm going to challenge you a little bit here. I want to know the truth. And so I like that, you can clearly tell you're extremely passionate about this stuff. I saw that in the video. I said, oh man, this guy's brain, I can't imagine what's going on in there. It's probably similar to my brain, just a little different brains, right? Yours is in engineering chaos, mine is in lining up sockets.
And mine is in the practice part, so
right. So
it's a good combination.
Right, we put that together in order to hopefully provide you guys some value in the world. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching.